welcome back to Adobe Live. What's up, all of our friends in the chat? Good to see you again. I'm here with Sam Peterson.
Hey everybody, what's up guys?
Art? Is that your full name?
Yes, Sam Peterson's my first name, Art is my last name.
Yeah. I like that. That's how I am like Kathleen Illustrated. It's just it's my only name.
Part of the brand now, you know?
Yeah.
You gotta adopt it fully.
Nice, everyone in chat is getting very excited about each other. We've got Tim saying Chad, Chad saying Tim, Tim saying Wade, me saying Wade. Very cool. What's up, Mike Jacobs? We have some really cool things in store for you today. Sam's gonna jump into his work soon, but before we do that, I'll go over the schedule a bit. We just had the DCC with Voodoo Val right before this. Big hype to Val, that was awesome. My mother named me Voodoo, she says. Amazing, I would believe it. Then we have the XD DCC coming on after us with Melody, and then following that is more good XD designing with John and Melody again, or John and Danielle. So very, very cool. We've got O. May in the chat, Paco's in the chat, amazing. So if you want to stick around for more live streams, make sure you sit tight here. We're going to be also looking at the DCC entries from Val's Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge in about an hour-ish, hour and a half. So the challenge was to make a sci-fi poster with the illustration from yesterday's challenge. You can find more info about that over here in the challenge tab. Very cool. You can still sign up for that. And then we're gonna do a giveaway, a chat and win in about 30 minutes. So we're gonna be giving away 100 free Sticker Mule stickers to one lucky winner. Very nice. All right, Sam, for those of the chat who did not meet you yesterday, do you wanna introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey everybody. Thanks for anyone who's coming back. See a lot of the faces from yesterday.
Yeah.
My name is Sam Peterson, and I am Sam Peterson Art on all social media, primarily Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. I do a lot of character art, a lot of fantasy art, a lot of creature art, that kind of thing. A lot of illustration. It's kind of my wheelhouse. Yeah, characters, fantasy illustration, all that stuff. And lately, I've been doing a lot of D&D characters. You can usually find me online on Twitch because I stream 5 days a week, so I do that pretty regularly. And yeah, that's mostly it.
Very cool, and you've been showing your painting and drawing and everything process.
Yeah,
last 2 days.
Yeah. Yesterday we took a character from Thumbnail. If you guys didn't see these yesterday, this is what I was doodling in my sketchbook the day before, and it's just me trying to get some ideas down, some shapes. You know, I like to kind of thumbnail things out pretty small and try to establish the idea off the bat. It's really a lot of shapes that I'm just experimenting around with, trying to find stuff that looks interesting. And from there, you know, if I find something I like I can kind of see a character within that. I'm like, oh, okay, I think this guy would have these colors and he would kind of look like this, and this would be his personality. Once I find something I kind of connect with, I like to, you know, blow it up a bit and do like an actual more detailed drawing. And lately I've been doing these kind of sketchier ones, so this sketch is pretty loose. You know, there's not a ton of refined, clean line art, but I've kind of liked this lately because I can keep it kind of loose, but if I really wanted to render this out and make it a lot more crisp, I'd probably spend a little bit more time on the lines. But I thought for the purposes of this live stream, it'd be fun to do drawing one day, painting the other. So today we're gonna take this drawing that we did yesterday and paint them up.
Woo!
And hopefully, you know, it'll be kind of this process.
Yeah.
This result, line drawing, color roughen, and a little bit of refinement. We'll see how far we get, but you know, we should get something pretty good.
Yeah, you said you've been doing much quicker studies, so like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, lately I've been trying to do things in around 3 or 4 hours, not specifically because, you know, that amount of time is important, but just because I've been finding this kind of flow that feels really good, and I like to be able to get to more ideas, so if I don't spend like, you know, in the past I've spent like 16, 20 hours on paintings, and I kind of lose the, you know, the excitement for it a certain way through. So these paintings that I've been doing lately, it's basically exciting the whole way through, because I think where I lose my interest is when I've already established all the ideas, the lighting is established, the design, the personality, the color palette, and then from there it's just stuff that doesn't really change the image enough to keep it interesting. It just refines it, but it doesn't really change what you're looking at.
Right.
So I'm trying to hit that sweet spot where it's fun the whole way through, and you know, everything's established.
Yeah.
There's not really any need for any more information.
Right, we're trying to just have fun here.
Yeah, exactly. I think you got to kind of look back and, you know, realize why you like drawing and make sure you're doing it in a way that's fun for you and, you know, doesn't feel too restricting.
Definitely. Totally agree. And if you're going to be drawing alongside Sam or working on the Photoshop DCC, let us know in the chat. We want to encourage you while he's working.
For sure. I'm looking forward to checking the challenges out today.
They're really cool yesterday. Excited to see more. Jeffrey says, my line drawings are so much more rough. So much more rougher.
I like kind of loose, you know, rough line drawings, but I'm always trying to hit that spot where I can kind of put a little bit more detail over the roughness, and it's kind of this nice focal point.
Right, but it still has some life.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
Yeah, keeping it loose is always fun.
Cool, so you added a little bit of a background value to work off of.
Yeah, so what I like to do at this point, since I have my lines, I try to picture, it helps when I take all the color off, but when I just picture like, what do I see it being? And that's difficult sometimes, but I try to get some idea. So what I was thinking for this guy is a sort of almost like deserty plains kind of color palette. So something with reds and maybe a little blue in the sky. So what I try to do is establish that as much as I can. And I tend to zoom out and then just go for it. So let's try that. Almost got it, there we go.
Yay,
second try.
2, you'll get it. I feel like you very much match Photoshop today. You've got the gray shirt, the gray chair, the gray Cintiq.
Oh yeah.
Just living in the UI.
Yeah, we're color coded.
That's the dress code here at Adobe. You gotta match one of the apps.
I was hoping it would make me, you know, connect on a deeper level with Photoshop and truly understand each other.
On like a Steve Jobs level.
Yeah.
Black turtleneck. What's up, Natasha? You are fairly new to digital art. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out. I hope that you work alongside Sam as he goes. Natasha, this is Photoshop. You're doing the digital paintings.
So here I'm just trying to establish kind of the feel of everything with the colors, but also the values. I feel like I need to kind of establish, is it gloomy, is it really sunny, you know, that kind of feel. So anything where I can just kind of stay zoomed out, keep it pretty loose, and it's just trying to, it's kind of like you would traditional painting. You just splash some paint around, try to get a color palette that feels right, like the mood feels right. And that's what I'm always trying to establish, is the mood. So it doesn't really matter how tight the background is. It's, you know, does it feel like I want it to feel?
Gotcha. And are you toggling between the brush tool and the smudge tool, or is this all brush right now?
This is all brush. Cool. I do use the smudge tool, and I'll show you guys that in just a moment. I really like that more for, it's kind of for fine blending and rendering, but the smudge tool is fantastic. I don't know if anyone out there uses it. I know a lot of people like the mixer brush, which it seems like it's almost half and half when I talk to people. Some people say they like the mixer brush, some people use the smudge. I personally really love the smudge tool.
I personally have a lot of trouble using like very blendy types of things. I feel like my values just become very muddy.
Oh, yeah.
Try and stick with that pretty stark shape on shape kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's good. You know, you can kind of really define what you're doing. And I have this brush that it's not anything special, but just kind of this hard edge brush with some texture.
Yeah.
You can see if I make a brush stroke, there's some nice texture in there.
It's really nice. Wow.
So I do most of my stuff with this, and then as I kind of go on in the painting, I tend to, I have a couple brushes I use, but it's really only like 2 or 3 at most.
That's really amazing. That's one question that a lot of, especially newer digital artists, will say is like, what brush are you using? I need to get brushes before I can start. And it's like, you can just use a round brush, make beautiful work.
I used a round brush exclusively, well, like the soft and the hard round for, oh my gosh. I've been doing it like 10 years, so maybe 7 years. I didn't like touch any other brushes. I've always been very minimalistic. Like, I don't tend to like learning software, like 3D software. I just want to get in there and create. And that's what I was saying yesterday about Photoshop, is you really, just to get started and get painting and drawing, you really don't need to learn that much. So brushes are one of those things that intimidated me. Like, I'll see hundreds of brushes. I'm like, I don't know which one to choose. I just tell me the good one, and like, I just, you know, whatever works. So I've always been very minimalistic, but I've lately been going for a little bit more realism. in my work. I had a lot more stylized look before, and I think even this is fairly stylized, but kind of pushing it in that direction. And there's been some more textured brushes that I've been really liking.
Nice. But still, you don't overload. You don't have hundreds that you're always switching in between.
And brushes, like, they give you an effect if you know what effect you want.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know specifically why you want that brush, it's probably not gonna help. So really any brush is gonna make, as long as the mark is the right shape, the right color, the right value, then it's a good mark. It doesn't really matter. Texture's always kind of a tertiary point,
Yes.
It's not as important.
Totally. Yeah. That's like people wanting to get into digital painting without really even knowing how to draw, or like not being super confident in their skills.
Yeah.
So and that's where you start.
Yeah, exactly. Just jump into it, have fun with it. And keep in mind, drawing and painting, the fundamentals are always kind of the core thing regardless of what tool you're using.
Definitely.
Tools can definitely make things easier and, help you out with certain aspects of it, but it's not really gonna ever replace the fundamental skills you need.
Oh, yes. And speaking of tools that make things easier, you were showing off yesterday how some transform tools can make things easier, like the warp tool. It helped you kind of push the thrust, I think you're saying, of the pose.
Yeah, for sure. Love the warp tool. If you guys didn't see that yesterday, I have it hotkeyed, but I don't know if it's working. So if you want to know how to do it, you just go to Edit, Transform, Warp. And I always recommend hotkeying all your actions that you use, frequently. So if you find yourself using a certain tool or function, more than once or twice a day or a session, I'd highly recommend hotkeying that and then memorizing your hotkeys.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot at first when I first did it, but after like a week, it's muscle memory. And
Totally.
it makes your life so much easier.
It's so fast.
So I put my warp to F4. It doesn't really matter. It's just kind of convenient. And you can kind of push characters around. You can move their poses. For characters, it's great because it almost looks like they're taking a different pose. Another tool I love is it's Command H on the Mac. It's muscle memory for me on my PC, but I think it's Control H.
Probably.
And it hides the marching ants. So if you're ever moving something and it's kind of obscuring your view of what it looks like, I use this all the time. So it's super helpful. But you can just do Control H and then kind of move your character around. Or you can lasso tool, maybe just the arm or the leg, and kind of move that around. So I use this a lot because it just really helps you refine a pose without having to redraw.
Yeah. It's awesome. Marissa's saying, I thought for transform it had to be a smart object. It doesn't have to be, but if you do use a smart object, then however you transform it will be non-destructive. So you can always go back to the original no matter how far down the line you get. So smart objects are definitely helpful.
Yeah, they can definitely be a good idea if you want to work like non-destructively. And
Yep. But some of us like to be destructive.
I honestly don't use a lot of smart objects. It's one of those things that maybe I just haven't learned to use yet because I've seen people on Behance on the streams previously talk about it. I'm like, maybe I should use that more.
Yeah.
I do occasionally use layer masks for like textures. Say I'm overlaying a texture over something or any adjustment layer really. I'll use the layer mask function to kind of erase it out and then bring it back, push and pull it until I like it.
Yeah.
Because if you're just erasing it, you're gonna destroy it and you won't be able to get it back, especially if it's like a unique texture.
Definitely.
So I use that a bit for non-destructive purposes.
Right. And for other digital painting workflows, I can't think of a reason people would really use smart objects unless you were bringing in a bunch of files and like compositing them together.
Yeah.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, we got it.
You got it.
One time I'll make a new layer and I'll get it right on the first try.
Right at the end of the stream. But it'll be after the cameras are shut off.
Yeah, it'll be the climax of the stream. So we did it. Yeah.
Yay. Nice.
All right, so I think we're gonna start on the character himself.
Woohoo. Background looks good.
Yeah, the background, like, you can see it's super scribbly, but there's kind of an environment that's implied, which is, it's almost like impressionistic painting. Like, things don't need to be super detailed, but they kind of give you the idea of what's there. And that's what I like. It almost kind of looks like a deserty landscape, but kind of like cloudy skies.
Yeah.
And, it's daytime, but kind of dark, and I like that.
Nice.
So I'm happy with it for now, and I'm definitely gonna go back in there later and refine it. But for now, I'm gonna work on the character. And we talked yesterday about how in the past I would do a mask, a clipping mask. And I recommend if you guys are new to Photoshop and you don't have a workflow yet for this type of digital painting, I definitely recommend this type of thing where you make a mask layer, you just make a new layer, normal, blend mode, and you choose any color you want, it really doesn't matter, and you just fill in your character, and you're essentially creating a shape that outlines all the line drawing. And once you're done with this takes a little while, and I've kind of skipped this process, even though I'll show you kind of at the same time how I'm still achieving this. It's just in a more quick way. But this is essentially what I would do before. Up until pretty recently, actually, I was doing my clipping masks, and you can attach your flat colors to them. So we'll do this really quick half mask just to show you for demonstration purposes. So let's pretend this is a clean mask.
Okay, put on your imagination hats, everybody.
You ready for this, Kathleen?
No.
Bam!
Oh, I was like, wait,
First
what?
time.
Woohoo! Impressive.
Thought about it. I was ready.
Took a lot of brain power, but we got there.
Yeah. I'm learning, slowly but surely. So at this point, you can choose, whatever color you want for this character.
And you just made a new layer and you're painting on top of the one that you just made. Okay.
Correct, yeah. The gray layer is the mask layer, and it's what we're gonna clip everything to. And then I usually would name them, the last one, would be mask, and then this would be the flat color layer. So I try to keep my layers organized and named. But at this point, usually you would have to paint in the lines, but when you click that new layer on top of the mask one, on top of that shape that we created, you do create clipping mask. And now you got this nice little, nice little mask where you don't have to color in the lines.
Yes. Use your energy elsewhere. It's great.
So you can kind of just go crazy, like what I like to do is stay zoomed out and kind of think of it like a big color palette. So let's say, he's got this brown armor, but maybe that's a little boring for me. Maybe I want to try like more of this copper bronze armor. So I can just quickly, just paint over it again.
Yes.
And it just allows me to try things really quickly without having to worry about being clean. So.
Nice. And all of your flat colors are on one layer at this point.
Correct. A lot of people put their flat colors all in separate layers. I can't speak to that too much because I've never done it, but it stresses me out when I think about it, because every time I want to switch a color, like I'm constantly trying a new color for that section. Or instead of the entire skin being blue, maybe this part will have another color. So I'm moving around my colors and I'm changing the colors. So I don't like having to constantly click different layers, but it is a method, you guys could look into. A lot of people use it, so it must be helpful to some degree in their workflow.
Yeah, keep things clean and organized. You could turn on auto select. So instead of having to click a layer, you just click on your image and it'll change to the layer that you click on. Maybe that would make it faster.
Yeah, that is actually an option. I never use that, but I'm constantly reminded that it is an option. I'm like, oh, that's handy.
Yeah, it can be handy sometimes, and then sometimes you forget it's on and you're like clicking around, painting on the wrong layer on accident. Story of our lives. VD's wondering, are you going to use bright colors in the character?
Probably kind of like the stuff you see on my Instagram. So it is fairly saturated, I think. I'm trying to push it a little bit more realistic, but I'm trying to get this nice balance between bold colors, but not too intense.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think you definitely have this color palette that I see kind of working through a lot of your work. There's always like this greenish blue, I feel like, some sort of red or crimson-y earth tone.
Yeah, I really do love earth tones, and I have a special place for like a turquoise blue. I always love painting that. Like this guy's skin will probably be kind of a desaturated version of that.
Right. Makes sense.
So let me name these layers so I don't confuse you between my new method and this method. So the mask is the shape right here that we would outline the character with. The flat colors are then put on top of that on a single layer, or at least for my method. I know, let's have to do it again. Everyone will be so impressed. And then a multiply layer is the next one I make. And this is really handy. This is kind of a workflow I was using for quite a while, and I still use multiply layers in this way. We'll go over that momentarily in the new way that I'm kind of using them. But I just clip that You'll see both of those two layers are both pointing down, so they're all clipped to that mask layer below it. And I tend to pick this bluish purple color. You're kind of seeing I'm putting my color picker above the blue, going into the purple a bit.
Yeah.
I usually, I don't know, maybe 1/3 up in terms of value, so it's not super dark, or 2/3 up rather. And then it's fairly desaturated, because if you do this, you're gonna turn it purple.
Woof. Yeah.
So it's pretty intense. But if you turn it down a bit, you get some reds in there, and it's just kind of this nice shadow. We'll see if it looks good. It looks a bit purple to me, so I'm gonna desaturate it a bit. And that looks pretty good to me. And what I like about this is it kind of looks good on every color. Like wherever I put this, it's gonna look like a shadow. And the only colors I usually have to worry about is if there's like a white cape or a white fabric. If you go too saturated, it's gonna turn it purple real quick.
Yeah.
And skin tones, if you go too desaturated, the shadows are gonna look kind of muddy in the skin tone, and it's gonna look kind of like dead and muddy and a little, just unappealing.
Yeah.
So I usually pick this purple color, and I can kind of go in and just choose my light source. So what I liked about this method previously is you can kind of decide all your steps separately. First we have our line drawing, where we just focus on our design and our construction and everything that line drawing kind of establishes. After that, I put in the mask,
Cool.
which just allows me to do the following steps, but then I can just think about color. At this point, when I'm doing flat color layers, all I'm thinking about is the color palette. And then when I'm doing the multiply, all I'm thinking about is the lighting. So it kind of lets you separate each step and make sure like, okay, the design's good, let's move on. Colors are good, okay, let's move on to lighting.
Yes.
Lighting's good, now we can paint it.
Yeah. The cool thing about doing the flat colors, like you just said, is really you don't have to worry about the value of your colors so much. It's literally just like, what is the local color of this thing? And then you get to worry about lighting, like you said, further down.
Yeah, exactly, and it just kind of makes everything easier. And I don't know if it helps, turning these lines off, but you can kind of see at this point I'm trying to establish a sort of light source. And maybe the light's coming from the top right.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really important if you guys are new to painting, have a definitive light source and know where it's coming from, because too often I think people just kind of add highlights and shadows to everything, but you really got to consider like the light's coming from the top right, so where would the cast shadow be? Like he's got kind of this big jaw, throat area, so I imagine the sun wouldn't really be hitting right there.
Right.
So we kind of got that shape. And then, he's probably got a little bit of a shadow under his nose, a little bit on the side there. The cheekbone, if you know like facial anatomy and study that, it really helps to know where the planes of things are. And if you guys are new to painting, you may know that, or you may not know that knowing the planes of an object is really crucial to painting. Like when people paint the face, they're always talking about the planes of the head and trying to really chisel those in, so.
Yeah, I was just thinking about for the nose, it seems like he has a pretty flat nose, so that shadow is gonna be pretty short.
Yeah.
But like if his nose came out pretty far, but we couldn't see it because he's looking towards us, that shadow would look different. So it would have more mass to be cast upon.
Yeah, for sure, and like if I go in and I really chisel in that shadow with the nose, it's gonna look like there's kind of this hard ledge to the nose.
Yeah.
But since that's not the case, I may lighten the shadow up a bit.
Yeah, it's a little more blunt.
Or even soften the shadows. And one thing I'll talk about now, if you guys have never used the smudge tool, I love the smudge tool, use it all the time. You'll see it probably later in the stream more. But essentially the smudge tool, I hotkey to N because B is the brush hotkey, and then N is right next to it, so I can kind of flip back and forth. So I'll make my shadow strokes, I'll chisel in these things. And then I'll take N and blend it out. So there's a few ways you can blend, but I love this method because I can target the edges I want to. So if I don't want one edge to be softened, but I want the other to be, I can do that. So if I want to keep that top edge of that shadow on the right chiseled, and because there's hard edges and there's soft edges everywhere, and this really lets you be kind of choosy about which one you're doing.
Yeah, and this makes it really start to look 3D and rendered.
Yeah, you can kind of see we're already getting a little bit of that form in. So I'm constantly doing that, smudging and putting in more shadow and erasing if I put it too much.
Right.
So this method can be, really, really helpful.
Definitely. Very cool. Ariana says, I love the smudge tool.
Yeah.
Satisfying.
It's the best.
I need to start playing with it more. I would like to. just scared of it. Don't need to be.
Yeah, there's a good amount of people who use the smudge tool I've seen, you know, and once I tried it, I realized why, because it's just a really nice method for kind of getting these forms. So that was my kind of old method. I'm gonna go ahead into the more kind of quick one that I've been doing lately.
Ooh.
It's kind of the same thing in essence. It's just separating each step less and kind of doing them all together, and it just feels to me more playful, like more free, and it's a little bit faster. And I think after doing this method for long enough, I got comfortable enough with my colors and my values that I felt confident enough to skip those steps.
Yeah.
And the reason I went over this for everyone is just in case you guys are new to it, you know, separating those steps out to really tackle one issue at a time is super helpful.
Yeah.
So keep the sketch, of course. Sketch I'm always referring to. It's my blueprints for everything that I'm going to be doing. But the multiply layer, I'm going to get rid of, and the mask, I'm going to get rid of. You're probably saying madness, you know. Now it's all scribbly.
This is chaos.
But what I tend to do is, I don't know, it gives me like a more kind of painterly feel.
Okay, so you don't do any mask now. You just do straight flat colors.
And the flat colors that I'm doing here, they're not really separated. I'm kind of painting them together to establish a color palette, but they kind of become the mask.
Oh, I see.
So it's almost like I'm establishing the mask as I paint.
Become the mask.
Become one with it.
VD says, both of you have beautiful hair.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, VD.
I don't know if I can compete with Kathleen's hair, though.
I got a mane going on today, just like our troll friend in the illustration.
Oh, yeah. He's got the intense hair. So let's see if I can switch my eraser from this hard one to I have this textured brush that I use. Ooh. And I like erasing with it because I can get those kind of feathered edges.
Yeah, that's awesome. Literally feathers, if he has feathers in his hair.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll slowly build this in, and right now the goal is going to be to establish a color palette with him. I like his environment. The environment really helps because I can now try to figure out like what colors should he have. And I like to start on the darker side of colors, so I may try some kind of darker tones for this.
Nice. So you build up the darks and then at the end bring in more lights?
Yeah, and this is kind of a good example. You'll see everything is dark here, except then I take into consideration the light source. I was like, okay, the top of his arms would be getting sun, or you know, light from the sky.
Get some sun.
Yeah. I don't know if it's super sunny with him.
Right.
But you know, some skylight. And then his shoulder pads are facing upward, so they would be catching some light. The top of his head, you can see I put some light on. And the reason you can kind of see those smooth edges is because that's the smudge tool. You know, I put in some light strokes and then I smudged it, and that's kind of that soft blend you're seeing.
Right. Looks more like skin.
Yeah, and that's actually a really great thing about the smudge tool is I use it on skin a good amount, and then I'm careful about where I put in my texture, so it still has this kind of organic skin-like look, but not too like out of focus or anything like that. So I'll keep it kind of dark like you see here, and then I'll see if I can kind of knock in the light source.
Cool. Brandon says I have to go back to work. See you later, Brandon.
Thanks for stopping by, Brandon.
Yeah, hope you can watch the replay. Cool. And yes, Tim, in about 30 seconds, we're going to be doing our chat and win. So everyone, if you are not already signed in on Behance, or if you're watching over on YouTube, come over to Behance. We're going to do a chat and win very, very soon. Make sure you're logged in and ready to answer our question when we ask it, or when Sam asks it.
Oh, the question. I got to think about what we're going to ask. I don't know.
Well,
I may need help with this one.
It's officially time. All right, Chad, make sure you're logged in. Okay, bye, Chad. See you later. We're going to ask you a question, and then we're going to pick one random winner from the answerees to win 100 free stickers from Sticker Mule. Usually we like to ask a question to get to know the chat a little bit better. Is there anything you want to know about like what they do for a living or their favorite mythical creature?
This is tough. If you guys could visit one country, what would you visit?
Yeah.
What would be your go-to travel destination?
Let us know. We'll be back in a minute. All right, everyone, let us know. Kerwin says Italy. Wendy says Iceland. Wow. Do you have an answer?
Oh man, there's so many places. Thailand's always sounded really cool, but Italy and Iceland are both up there as well.
Yeah, a lot of Japan.
Japan, for
Yes.
sure.
Adobe Live says Japan. I agree.
Sweden would be cool too.
Narnia. The moon. Portugal. Ooh, I've heard a lot about Portugal recently. Like, it's a cool place. South Korea for their skin treatments and food.
Denmark? Is
Nice.
that the Lego HQ?
Oh.
I did not know that.
Me neither.
New Zealand would be awesome.
Yes.
Super cool.
Seriously. All right, Med Amin, you are the winner. Congrats, Med. I didn't see your
Nice.
answer, so put it in the chat again so we can know where you want to be. Very, very cool.
Congrats.
Med, yeah, you've won 100 free stickers from Sticker Mule. Adobe Live will be messaging you on Behance, so keep an eye out for that. And if you did not win, never fear, go to stickermule.com/Adobe Live 19 and you can get 10 free stickers, or 10 stickers for $1. They're not free if they're $1, but they're basically free.
Yeah, just about.
Yes, so go check those out. I can't wait to see what you all make. Very, very cool. Ooh, the Ivory Coast, Greece. There's all kinds of places I want to go now.
Yeah. There's
Man.
definitely a huge list. These are all good ideas.
All the countries.
Yep.
All right, back to the work. So we have about an hour before we're going to be doing reviews for the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. The challenge today was to make a sci-fi poster. You can learn more about it over here in the challenge tab, using the illustration from yesterday's challenge. So go learn about that. You've got about an hour to go post those in Discord. If you are not a part of the DCC Discord yet, it's bit.ly/PSDiscord, capital P, capital S. And then when you do get over there, if we can pop over to my screen real quick, awesome, there's the link. Woohoo! You can post your design in the design feedback channel. That's this, right there. You can scroll on down and see people. Oh my gosh, nice! And Akatsuki from Naruto. That's great. If we scroll on down, you can see here's Val's submissions.
Ooh.
So the sci-fi kind of propaganda posters.
That's cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm. We've already got some submissions kind of from yesterday, but we'll still give them feedback. So yeah, you've got about an hour. Get those uploaded.
Yeah, if you guys haven't joined the Discord community, you should definitely check it out. I'm in there pretty frequently, and it's a really great community. A lot of good feedback.
Yeah, definitely. And you can earn creative karma if you give feedback, which is nice.
Creative karma.
Yeah, you get like +1 creative karma if you do feedback.
Oh,
I'm
cool.
guessing Voodoo Val has a lot because she gives a lot of feedback. Amazing.
All right, so we got about an hour or so, you said? Yeah, until
Yes.
the design. So we'll see. I'm gonna try to establish his color palette essentially, kind of the same thing we did with the background, which is, it's almost like if I turn this off and I just scribble colors down, like, do these look cool together? And I actually, I kind of think they do.
I do too.
I like this kind of yellowish brown we got going for his armor. Skin tone I think is, I'm kind of liking that. Let me try to darken it up a bit.
It's very grotesque, as we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, and this is kind of why this look specifically is something I've been enjoying about not doing a clean mask and then attaching my flat colors to it. It's kind of like I'm establishing the mask with more loose brush strokes.
Ah, I see.
And it allows me to kind of keep that really painterly look. You see at the bottom, it's all kind of just loose brush strokes. And I've really been enjoying that lately.
Right.
It just feels kind of energetic to me and it's kind of fun.
Right. And it kind of tells you where you're supposed to be looking eventually. Like your eye takes in the whole piece, but then the place that has the most contrast and value differentiation and probably detail
Yeah, definitely.
is then where you will look.
If you guys have seen my feedback on the Discord channels for various things, you probably have heard me mention the phrase like visual hierarchy more than once, which is essentially leading the eye to where you want it to be. You know, you have like big shapes, medium shapes, small shapes, but you also have like the area of most focal detail and the areas of most contrast with the lighting, the texture, all that stuff. So I really like to have kind of a, this gradient of that from smooth light contrast up to like sharp edges and high contrast.
Yeah, and we were talking yesterday that will probably be on the face area around here, kind of the bust area.
Definitely, yeah, and you can really see that with this. The only area you really see those sharp edges are the shoulder, head. The sleeves are pretty refined.
Yeah, the tops especially.
Yeah, and then the hands a bit, but everything else kind of fades away, and I've been liking that look, so
It's awesome.
something I'm trying to hit more.
Cool. Jeffrey says, I lived in Japan for 7 years and it wasn't that great. No, Jeffrey. I'd like to hear more about that if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, I wonder if it's one of those things where some places are really fun to visit, people will say,
Yeah.
but living there is kind of a different lifestyle or certain thing that you
Yeah.
have to get used to.
Certainly a culture shock if you're not from there
For
or
sure.
used to it. Oh, so you get creative karma if you say thanks and then add the username in the Discord. Cool. So much karma going around. I'm already seeing very cool posts being posted in design feedback. VD just posted an awesome illustration. Excited to talk more about that later. What's up, Christina? Jordan, good to see ya.
So I kind of like this contrast between it's kind of complementary. It's like yellow and purple. So I was thinking for some of this fabric stuff, we could maybe go a bluish purple
Cool.
sort of tone. Again, just trying to scribble things out. Like I'll do that a lot where I'll just make marks with a different color if I want to add in another color. Because right now, there's a lot of this yellow stuff,
Right.
but there's not really anything breaking it up. And maybe I could fit in some more traditional colored, just gray metal armor.
Oh.
We'll see.
It's kind of got a mixed metal look going on.
Yeah, maybe. It's kind of this bluish tone too, so I just got to find a good metal color. Maybe something more green, because metal can be, a lot of different colors.
Seriously.
Like if you could even go red, as long as it's desaturated. Like that's kind of, could be a metal tone, it's just this warm.
Yeah. It's kind of iron.
So kind of look between those, it's not a huge difference. Once you desaturate colors, they become pretty similar, but the whole reason I do this, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the term simultaneous contrast, but we actually talked about that a bit yesterday with the feedback we were giving. I think someone was doing a Princess Leia and they had like just the face established with the color, but my recommendation is always do something like this, knock in the big flat colors if you can, and then refine from there, because colors and saturation and values are all going to look different depending what's around it. If you have a super dark scene and you have like a mid-tone, the mid-tone's going to appear really bright.
Yeah.
But if you have a super light scene, that mid-tone's going to appear like a shadow. So same thing with colors, if something appears blue or red. I've stopped thinking about colors necessarily just in terms of like, this is blue, this is red, this is green. It's just more like, is it more towards this color? Is it more saturated?
Yeah.
Is it, just kind of shifting it different ways.
Right.
And
That's
I
so
kind
interesting.
of like that warmer one, maybe just because it fits with the environment,
Yeah.
kind of a warm environment.
Right. Fits right in. And then if you were to pick a cooler one, it would look more out of place, which is okay sometimes if that's what you intend.
Yeah, it might also just look like an unusually cold colored metal, because if it's like that cold in a warm environment.
Right. Right. Maybe it has some magic properties where it's actually cold.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Ho ho.
Little ice cleavers.
Ice cleavers. He can strap into his feet and they become ice skates. That'd be cool. Wow. VD says, sorry, gotta go. It's almost midnight in India. Darn, VD. So we'll give you feedback in the design feedback channel when we do the feedback in about 50 minutes, but you can always watch the replay later. Ooh, Christina wants to know more about your work, Sam. Do you work in an office? Are you a freelancer? What's your story?
I've been doing freelance lately. I stream on Twitch a lot, and then I've been doing a lot of my freelance on Twitch. Been doing a lot of characters for people. I kind of take just various freelance work depending on what people need. Sometimes it's like, something someone's doing for like a sort of tabletop board game or something like that, or it's just an independent person who wants their D&D character drawn, or like I've done a book cover before. So it's kind of just various things like that. Anything that's kind of related to characters and creatures and fantasy illustration, I'm pretty open to taking. That's typically what I do.
Very cool. And how do you find that you find work? Is it just mutual networks? Is it online communities? Word of mouth?
I think if you're part of a community and network, that can definitely help. A lot of people get jobs and stuff through people they know because they can refer you and they know you do good work and you're a cool person, you're good to work with. But I kind of do it a lot of ways. I'm trying to, build up my social media and have a good presence online. I post on Reddit. If you're looking to get commissions, posting on Reddit can be good if you can find that community who's into that thing. So there's like a D&D Reddit that I like to post on.
Yeah, you're like, hey, you need a character drawn?
Yeah.
I'm your guy.
And a lot of those people in that area are into like, a lot of fantasy things. Sometimes someone may be making a game or a book or, anything that they could be interested. So putting yourself out there online in any way, I think is really important. Like I stream on Twitch too, so a lot of people have found me that way.
Yeah.
I think if you're kind of hiding away, and you're not really posting, and you're not really part of any online community, it's going to be a lot harder to find work. And then on the flip side, if you're looking to get work from companies, like what I could do is apply and put my portfolio into different like companies that are doing maybe fantasy publishing or book covers or things like that. So you can kind of establish a relationship with different art directors and different people within those industries. So I think really just targeting your portfolio to the audience that would want to buy what you do is really important. And you kind of need to do some research to be aware of what that may be.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday about how concept art in general is pretty competitive, as in there's a lot of people who do it and want to do it, but you were encouraging people to really just nail down a specific kind of avenue to pursue.
Yeah, just like kind of know what you're going for and what's involved in that. You gotta do your research to kind of know what jobs exist, what kind of portfolios are required to get them, and really just kind of knowing what you're going to be putting your time into.
Right, definitely. Jordan says, I get super nervous thinking about putting myself out there online. I feel like a lot of people probably feel similarly. Jordan.
I think the thing is, so many people post art online, and there's all different levels. There's people who have just started drawing, and they probably feel like their stuff's awful. But it's like everyone's used to seeing that. Everyone knows that the art journey you have to start from the beginning to get, there is no end, but to get to that professional level. So I don't think anyone's ever gonna look at your work and be like, oh my gosh, they can't draw. That's awful. Because it's like, no, they just haven't been drawing as long as other people, and they're still learning these fundamentals. And like, I was there not that long ago. Everyone can relate to that because we all had to go from that level to, wherever we're at now.
Yeah.
And we all have a long way to go too. Like, I'm not nearly where I want to be. So at the, regardless of how long you've been doing it, I've been doing it 10 years, maybe, you've been doing it like a year. We still are in the same exact position of we're trying to learn and get better and get to where we want to be. We're just at a different leg of the journey.
Right. Definitely. And Jordan, I would actually, if you're looking for encouragement or recommendations for putting your work out there, I've always found it helpful to make work about things that I like or am excited about. That could be fan art. It could be, if you like the outfit you're wearing that day, drawing that. Like, it doesn't have to be, I drew this thing because I wanted to draw a good thing. It's more like, I drew this thing because I like this thing. I like the X-Files, so I drew the X-Files people. Scully and Mulder.
Yeah, it really, if you can let go of kind of the feeling of this isn't going to be good enough or any of the anxiety that comes around with doing that, and just look at it in the way of, I'm doing this to learn and better myself and I enjoy doing these things, I think you're going to have, a lot more fun and a lot less stress with it. Because like Kathleen said, if you just draw what you like, you'll be having fun with it. Just know that it's always a learning process. You're always going to learn lessons from your last painting. Yeah. And you can use those to get better, but have fun with it while you're doing it.
Totally.
No one expects you to be a master from the beginning.
Yeah, and if they do, then that's unrealistic.
Yeah. And then they probably haven't drawn before.
Right? Yeah. They're the person that says, I can't even draw a stick figure.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam would be like, actually,
Yes, you can.
stick figures are everyone.
Start with stick figures, turn it to advanced stick figures like we did
Yes,
yesterday.
Exactly.
Good to go.
Mm-hmm. Such a good point. Ryan is saying that, I think it was Ryan, day 2 will be my first attempt at digital illustration. It makes me nervous. Ooh, Ryan, you got this.
That's awesome.
Believe in you. Hi, F. Smidic. Good to see you. Haven't seen your name in a while. Good to have you back. Siobhan says +1 to fan art for practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you
So
really
fun.
enjoy drawing something, like you love drawing Star Wars or something like that, just do it. Like that's gonna make the whole process of learning, more fun for you.
Mm-hmm. And you probably have a lot of reference to study if it's fan art, because the thing already exists.
Yeah, for sure. And that can be good learning too. You can kind of sing like different designs and costume choices and kind of the shapes they make.
Definitely.
I heard a quote the other day that was basically like, say it takes 10,000 drawings to be good, and whatever good would be.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get to 10,000 or you can't get to 1,000 without doing one.
Mm-hmm.
So like you just do those drawings and know that the goal is maybe like 1,000, but there should be no stress involved because to do 1,000 you have to do 1, then you have to do 2, and then 3. So those are necessary, and enjoy it along the way. Like by the time you get to 1,000, trust me, you'll be good. Like you're gonna have learned a ton. You're gonna have gotten a lot better. Everyone has to go from 1 to 1,000. So just do it and enjoy the road. And once you get to like 100, you'll be like, man, I've done 100 drawings.
Yeah.
And I've gotten better, and that's really cool. And then 200, I've even gotten better at faces than I was before. And it's so much more fun, when you don't worry about it, just have fun with it and enjoy the progress that you see.
Yeah. That's so cool about drawing and making art in general is that you don't lose anything by making a bad, quote unquote, drawing.
Mm-hmm.
You always learn something. You're always still practicing, even if you don't like the outcome.
That's the dangerous thing about the fear of failure, that people kind of feel with art or really with anything is the only way you're hurting yourself is by not doing that drawing, because you're not learning, you're not getting the experience. If you did a horrible drawing, trust me, that's good experience. You may not think you've learned something, but every piece you do, you're kind of gaining, even if it's subconscious, you're getting a little bit of insight and lessons learned.
Totally. Like if it's hard, that means you're probably learning more than if you're like, oh yeah, this is easy, I've got this. It's kind of like if you're lifting weights and you are doing the easy ones, but then you get to the end, you're real tired, and you do 3 more. It's like those 3 are the ones that you really build muscle with.
Yeah, totally
Awesome.
true. There's another quote that I don't quite remember, but it's something like progress starts at the end of your comfort zone or something like that.
Exactly.
Because if you're never challenging yourself and something's not uncomfortable, or maybe uncomfortable is not the right word, but just kind of difficult and challenging, then your brain's not really doing that figuring out. It's not doing that learning.
Yeah.
This is an unart related analogy, but I was playing Super Smash Brothers for a while when it came out, and I'm not very good at that game. But I liked playing versus the computer level that I could beat every time because it's it's just relaxing. It's a good way to kind of decompress. But my friend was saying, well, if you actually want to get better, just turn it on the max difficulty. And I was like, there's no way. Like it's just good. I'm gonna get destroyed. But then I did it, and after a little while, I started beating it. And I was like, oh, okay, that actually made me get a lot better, a lot quicker.
Yeah. It's so true. It's hard. It's like you want to have fun, and sometimes that isn't fun. But.
For sure. I think with art, you have to make sure it is fun to some degree. Sometimes you got to do your studies and your practices that you may not always want to do. But I think the key thing with art is to enjoy it, because enjoying it is going to keep you consistent, and consistency is what makes you good.
Yeah.
So there is that thing with, we do art because we enjoy it. So you kind of have to find that balance. It's good to jump out of your comfort zone from time to time, but make sure you're having fun with it.
Yeah, definitely. Now people are talking about their favorite Smash players.
Oh man.
Play with. Paco likes Link. Let's see, Jordan likes Fox McCloud.
I'm a Ganon main myself.
Oh. I always like playing with Sheik. I don't know, is she even still in the games? Okay.
I believe so.
She's so fun. I've never been good at those games either. I'm just a Button masher.
Yeah.
Hopefully this works.
I like Ganon because if he hits you once, you're gonna feel it.
You're gonna feel it.
He's crazy powerful.
That's awesome. Just need to get that one.
Yeah, he's not the fastest, but if you can time things well.
So if you're playing games, do you like to be like the tank? Do you like to be a mage, a ranger? Chad, I'm asking you too.
That's tough.
What kind of builds do you like?
I've always liked magic users in games, but I feel like a lot of games I will play a tank because I feel like tanks are more forgiving because you won't get hit once and die like in Overwatch. I play a lot of the tank characters when I do play just because you can get away with a lot of stuff, I guess.
But they're so slow.
They are, but they pack a wall up, you know?
I've never liked being slow characters. I like if I'm gonna get hit, I just want to be able to run away instead of take the hit. But that does make you pretty squishy, usually. Jordan says Ganon is a heavy hitter. Ganon the cannon.
What hair color should he have?
Ooh, chat, help us. I'm thinking like Guy Fieri, bleach blonde with the visor.
That actually sounds kind of cool, like a light yellowish blonde color, like kind of this.
Ooh,
I don't know, something that. That's not a good shadow color. We want to like cool that down. Oh yeah, and just a little color tip. I don't know how many of you guys kind of do this, but I think it's really key to change your hue when you're changing values.
Ooh.
So this is something I stress a lot because I don't think a lot of people do it. But you can see from there, that looks kind of weird as a shadow to me, that yellow. Typically, if you have a warm light source, your shadows are going to be cooler. So when I have this white color, I always take my slider here and cool it down for my shadows. What did I do there? Did something. Oh, I changed my mode to pin light somehow.
Oh.
That's impressive.
Interesting Photoshop.
Aha, okay. No idea how that happened, but we're good. So
Moving on.
I'll cool it down. And it's the same thing with like shadows here for his skin. We're kind of in this bluish range, and rather than going closer to green, which would warm it, I'm gonna take it and shift it a little bit more towards the blue-purple range. So that's more of like a shadow tone.
That little guy keeps appearing in
Yeah,
a little
it's just
sketch.
It's like that
know.
Mortal Kombat whoopsie character.
Nice.
He's hiding. He's watching over, making sure we're doing well.
He's like Clippy in Microsoft Word. You still there? You doing okay?
It looks like you're writing a letter.
Here, let me help. No. Oh man. Is everyone old enough to remember Clippy out there?
I guess that is pretty old at this point, huh?
Yeah, we're getting up there, Sam.
Yeah.
People are still giving ideas for the hair. If you don't want to go with white, a lot of people are saying red.
I was thinking red, yeah.
There's kind of that idea of like the Plains tribes who dye their hair with like the clay, the red clay.
Oh, yeah.
Be pretty cool. Or blood.
Could be.
Who knows?
Clay if we want to keep it PG.
Yes. Adobe Live, PG.
This is the mature
13?
stream. It's the blood of his enemies.
Yes. Totally.
Or, maybe it's just like raspberry juice or something.
Yeah, it's just a little jam.
Maybe he just eats a lot of berries, foraging.
He gets real messy. He can't help it. Freddie actually has an art question.
For sure.
Saying, I've been stuck in the same level, skill level with digital painting. Any advice for getting better? I did 2 online Skillshare courses and have not improved.
Yeah, I think there's this really, well, there's 2 things to it. One, I think you have to be doing studies and challenging yourself and really kind of being specific about what you're trying to get better at. Identify the flaws in your own work, and that's a super critical skill to be able to do, is to look at your own work and be like, I need to work on this, or this is what's lacking. This is the kind of glaring weakness I see. Super crucial skill, and if you see that it's your construction, practice drawing, practice doing those form lines on your drawings. We did that a little bit yesterday, and really focusing on drawing forms in 3D.
Yeah.
If you find your values are washed out and you don't have enough contrast, really do some studies and look how deep the shadows go. Like look at the darkest dark, how dark is that value, and what's the lightest light? You know, what's that value range that they're working with in that photograph or in a master painting or whatever you may be studying. I think you really just have to be analytical and specific about what you're trying to get better at, and then do studies. The crucial thing is to do studies of that specific topic, and then kind of apply what you've learned. So if you don't actually apply what you're studying, I feel like the information kind of goes in one ear, out the other.
Right.
And that's definitely happened to me in the past when I was learning. But you know, if you're trying to do a character, you know, maybe do a photo you find of someone in armor or something cool, look at the values, analyze what they are, and then try to kind of replicate those values to some degree or that value range in your own piece. That goes for anything, you know, drawing a head, trying to understand the fundamentals of that head, the structure, and then try to figure out that simplified structure in your own piece.
Right.
Usually when I answer questions and I ramble this long, I forget what the question was.
Just getting better at digital painting because he feels like he's plateaued.
Okay. There's this graph that I pull up sometimes on my stream that's, what do I usually Google to get it? It's like perceived skill versus actual skill in painting.
Yeah.
But it basically shows that improvement is this like series of kind of, you go up and then you plateau. Yeah, it's like that one right there. So when you get better, when your observational skills get better, the more you draw, the more you study, you kind of see the distances and relationships between things. You're training your eye, and you can see flaws more easily. So sometimes we'll look at our piece when our eyes have gotten better and we can analyze more efficiently, and you'll think you've gotten worse because now you actually see the flaws. And then once you see the flaws, now your skill can catch up to that because you can fix them, you know? So your technical skill gets better.
Yes.
And it's kind of this, the period of frustration is where you're actually getting better at observing, but you haven't caught your technical skill up yet.
Oh, such a good point.
And then sometimes if you've ever had those moments where, like in the past, I remember thinking like, I'm pretty good. And then I think about my stuff back then and it was not.
Yeah.
I think that's when your eye hasn't quite caught up with your, you know, technical skill.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, and that helps you kind of diagnose like why you're getting frustrated or why you feel like you have plateaued.
But people totally do plateau. You know, it's the thing about studies that I was kind of saying. If that is the case, possibly, you know, just make sure you're always trying to learn. You know, you're pushing yourself to learn specifically. This is kind of related. Actually, I wanted to talk to you guys about checking values in a painting.
Ooh.
And let's see. This is something I do. I should have been doing it earlier, but if your value range, and this is a problem for a lot of people who are beginning painting, they'll use a very, very shallow value range. Their darkest dark won't be very dark and their brightest bright. Actually, sometimes the brightest bright is near white, but their shadows never really go deep enough, so their value range is way too shallow. So once we start getting into the painting, which I'm about to do, because I've kind of gotten the colors roughed in, and I like that. I like the color palette.
Me too.
Pretty simple, but I like it. Got some blue, some kind of gray metal, some yellow, and I may put an accent color. I do like to put accent colors in.
Ooh, a little pop.
Yeah, so right now, like there's nothing that really pops, but you know, something like, what about like a green? You know, or, I don't know what it would be, and I'm not even sure what the green item would be, but sometimes I'll make it up, like, you know, maybe he's got like an emerald necklace or who knows, but I'm not really sure. I use this accent color way too much because I love it.
It's a good one.
But yeah, if I don't know, sometimes I'll just, you know, scribble it around. But what I like to do to check my values is if you go to, let me see, command is, oh, it's already set up because I did it yesterday. So this is a cool little hotkey trick you can see. And my shadows are pretty good. My lights are not impressive. They're not there. They're not established. We'll do that in a moment. But what you do, if you guys have Photoshop open and ready, to have this handy little toggle on and off. Oh, and the coolest thing about it is that you can paint in this mode.
What?
And you won't be painting with gray. So if I you know, select this color, you can see on the right, it's showing what colors I'm selecting.
Yeah.
So I can select this blue of his chest, scribble it over here, and when I toggle it back, it's actually blue.
Cool.
So sometimes I'll switch to this just so I can paint in grayscale, just so I can focus on my values, because I'll have it like this, and I'll just want to focus in on, like, you know, how bright is his head. And I'll still select my color here, because I know I'm kind of going, when I select brighter, I do the opposite. I go warmer if it's a warm light source. So I shifted a little bit more towards green. And typically the highlights are less saturated. So a general rule of thumb I abide by is if it's a warm light source, the shadows are cooler and a little bit more saturated sometimes, and then the highlights are warmer and a little less saturated.
Gotcha.
So, I'll kind of put these highlight tones on and then just analyze if that's the lighting that I like. And to do that, what you do, I just hit F6 and I don't know what it does.
Did it group your stuff?
I don't know what these layers are, to be honest.
Where'd you come from?
Wow, I did something really fancy. Okay, well, disregard that.
Moving on.
It's not part of it. So to get this little toggle on and off, what you do is you go to View at the top, Proof Setup, go over to Custom, click that, and you'll see the device to simulate. You click that and you want to select working gray dot gain 20%. Once you click that and click OK, it'll turn your image grayscale. Now you can do Command Y or Control Y on PC, and you can toggle it on and off, and again, you can paint in this mode. So once again, if you guys missed it, it's View, Proof Setup, Custom, and then the device to simulate option will be working gray dot gain 20%. And I love this. Like when I found out about this, it kind of changed my life.
Changed my life.
Because you can do an adjustment layer, but I think this is supposed to be a more accurate way to see your values, a more accurate representation of your values.
Right.
And you can also toggle it on and off at will and paint in it, so it's great.
It's just a preview. That's super cool. Yeah, I've heard that about, like, if you put a black and white, it's like a filter adjustment layer, your values kind of shift unrealistically.
Yeah, it's not quite, what it should actually be.
That's really interesting because in Illustrator, you use Command Y to change your view modes as well. So it's similar across Photoshop and Illustrator.
Cool, I didn't know that. So this is the point where we got like 30 minutes or so. So I'll try to focus in on the head a bit. And I'm always trying to look at the big picture, the big shadows, the big forms. I'm really not gonna go into detail on this too much.
Ooh, some warm.
Yeah,
Nice.
I like putting pink, orange, red type stuff in the ears.
Yes.
I can't help it.
It's just a thing.
Yeah, on the nose maybe a little bit.
Nice. Oh yeah, you can also use the view modes to simulate color blindness, so you can make sure that your designs work well for people of different viewing types.
Oh, cool.
It's awesome. And chat, I am curious, in these last 26 minutes before we start reviewing the daily creative challenges, how many of you are participating in this week and next week's Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge? It's still, it's not too late to register. We're only on the first week, so you totally should participate. I think you can register by, there should be a link on how to do it. But maybe someone can put that in the chat because it might be a long one. But you basically go there, click register, and then every day you're gonna get a new challenge sent to you on that site. You're gonna get a notification. You can also get it through Discord. So when you sign up for Discord, bit.ly/PS Discord, you'll get the new challenge every day and the daily challenge announcements. So we started with image quality, yesterday was illustration, and then today is using text effects to make that sci-fi poster with yesterday's illustration. And then when you're done working on it, or when you're in the middle of working on it and you want some feedback, you post your work here. And as you can see, people are giving feedback, ideas. This is super cool by T-Pet. We're gonna talk about this in about 25 minutes. Jordan says, I'm participating, although I'm only able to do them later in the day. No worries, Jordan. I'm glad that you're participating. Very nice.
Oh, and I also meant to say for the person who was asking about improvement, saying they didn't feel like they're improving, if you ever want to join the Discord and shoot me a message on there, definitely feel free. Or, I stream too on the weekend or weekdays, Monday through Friday on Twitch. Like if you ever want to stop by the Discord or my stream and ask me, I'm always, super open to trying to help people.
Yes. Oh, cool. Freddie says that he just signed up. Great.
Oh, excellent.
Perfect. Yeah, so you're one of the mentors, right? In the
Yeah.
Discord?
Yeah, I'm one of the mentors on the Discord for the Photoshop daily creative challenges. So I'm in there, not this week because I'm here, but
You're working.
otherwise when those challenges are going on, you can usually find me around there. So feel free to like ping me, you shoot me a message, and if you're having trouble with anything, I can always try my best to help.
Yes. Now that you know, you have a face to a name. You shouldn't be scared to reach out.
Yep, feel free.
Or to me, but
Always happy.
Sam's the master of digital painting, so you should probably ask him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people. It's really great. Like, there's you, Val, Tim. There's a lot of people who are, and the community. Is
Yeah, all of you as well, providing
Definitely.
feedback. I do this to show that I am motioning towards the screen where I can see all of the chat. That's where you all live.
yeah.
over
You
there.
guys are over there.
Yeah, right there. Tiny little icons. Kay is also working on the challenge. You're loving it so far? Awesome. So glad. What's up, Matt? Good to see you. Yeah, Tim says I pretend to know stuff so you can ping him as well.
Tim's always got like great info and tips and stuff.
Yeah, he does his tips and tricks.
Yeah, I'm impressed by those.
Wait, what is the channel? Oh, the pro tips. So if you go to the community info, click on pro tips, Tim has these mini tutorials that are awesome where you can learn how to do really innovative and simple things in Photoshop. So changing the texture of images, learned about the mixer brush, removing cars from an image. Very cool. Bye,
So-
Wade.
Wade's heading out.
Yep.
See you, Wade.
See ya. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, at this point, I'm really just trying to establish lighting now. So, deep shadows, or deeper shadows, and then the light source. It's kind of trying to get that process essentially established, the lighting and the shadows. And I think right now, when I'm checking my values here, I feel like there's a lot of lights, not enough deep shadows, and I think that's always going to flatten out your image. So
Cool.
it's kind of what I was talking about before. With I think people go too mid-tony sometimes, and I always want to make sure I have good shadows.
Gotta push it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I use a lot of the smudge tool at this point, like just trying to, kind of blend out some of these forms.
Nice. So you're really working on rendering too as well.
Yeah, and I'm trying to keep it as loose as I can, just to not get too caught up in, the stuff that doesn't matter. But I definitely feel like some of these shadows aren't deep enough. And I can show you guys something I use all the time that I really like in just a moment.
Ooh.
But essentially, I use color dodge to boost my lights when I need it boosted, and I use a multiply layer to deepen down my darks when I need it.
Deepen down those darks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's not cheating. Just using a blend mode.
Yeah. I think we talked about that yesterday a bit with like the cheating. Like, as long as you know what it needs to
Yeah.
make it be what it needs to be, as long as you know you need to deepen the shadows, we can do that a number of ways, but multiply layer is just the quickest way, or at least that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, definitely. And someone was also asking about cheating. Abdel's wondering, is using the symmetry tool considered cheating?
The way I always answer that question is, are you able to do that manually? Do you know what needs to be done manually? And I don't think there's really any tool out there that will fix things for you if you don't know what tool to use and how to use it.
Right.
Because you're making a decision that this value needs to be darker, or I need to draw the other side of this face symmetrically. Like, you know how to do that.
Yeah.
It's just, there's tools to make that much quicker.
Yeah, I was just going to bring out one of our previous guests, Jax Jackson. She's a concept artist at Vainglory. They make cool games, but she definitely uses the symmetry tool, and part of her reasoning is, as a concept artist, specifically working on mobile apps, like, you need to make so much work so fast. So if she can make her work faster, then symmetry tool, use it all day. Why not?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so here's an example of, it's beautifully drawn and rendered, but if you use the symmetry tool just to help you out and get those concepts out faster, it's good to go. Christina says, speaking and drawing is very difficult. Just speaking sometimes is very difficult.
I can definitely relate.
Gonna admit it. What's up, Anna? Jeffrey saying, what are these illustrations gonna be used for?
I like just doing characters like this just for fun, really. I don't think it's going to be used for anything specifically, though I will say I have this idea of this thing I want to do where I want to take this kind of method of working quickly and sort of do this kind of Twitter feedback thing where I want to create little D&D adventures where you kind of choose your character and people will vote on it. So that may be something you guys, if you follow me on Twitter or anything like that, you'll see me do. So essentially I'd make a little cast of characters and I'd be like, you guys pick which one you want to go on this adventure. You pick it, and then the first, instance would be them getting their quest and then their first encounter. And people could kind of vote on what route they want the character to go, so it's almost like this interactive storytelling.
Yeah.
So I do seek out to do things with my art, whether that be making a game, because I have some little mobile game ideas I want to do. Just something more interactive storytelling that would be fun to do. I always want to figure out how I can make my art more interactive. And then, that may be something I do with these pretty soon, actually.
Interesting. So if you want to follow Sam on Twitter, it's Sam Peterson Art. It's his handle. Give him a follow. I am following you here.
Ooh.
I wasn't following you on Instagram yesterday. So sad, but I
Yeah.
did follow you.
Instagram and Twitter are definitely the best ways to keep up with me. I'm actually active on those.
Yes. Or on Discord. That's where
Discord
you
too, yeah.
also live.
I'm always kind of hanging around Discord.
Yeah, and on Twitch, because you're literally there.
Yep.
Pretty much every day.
Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, the ones I actually keep up with.
Very nice. Chat. Do you have any Twitters or Instagrams? You can always post your stuff in the chat so you can get some community going with your fellow Adobe Live viewers. Brian is wondering, is the symmetry tool going to be available for Project Gemini? I'm not sure, but you can always submit feature requests for Gemini. Highly recommend. F. Smidic likes the idea of doing the little D&D campaigns on Twitter.
Yeah. I think it'd be fun. I think anything where people can kind of interact with your art more just seems really appealing to me. So I want to push that more. So, I think I was planning on doing that soonish. So maybe if you guys keep up with my social media, you may see that in a couple weeks or so. It depends how busy I am with freelance and other things.
Darn, would hate for you to be busy with cool work.
It's a hard life that I live.
So hard. With all those cats.
Yeah.
Those cute kittens.
Always trying to get pets while I'm working, it's so
walk around
tough.
the keyboard.
Yeah, they do that. Whenever I come back in the room after having slept or being away for a while, my keyboard is moved and I'll open it up and there'll be 3 or 5 tabs open with all the same spam in it and something opened up that I don't even know what it is.
They're downloading stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We got Alex Lazarus. What's up, Alex? How you doing? One of our old Adobe Live friends. Old Twitch friend as well. Super cool. How you doing up in Portland? How are things? Johnny says that he is now following you on Twitch.
Excellent. Well, thanks.
On the Twitch. I've been thinking of doing some personal streaming
Oh,
on
you
the Twitch.
should.
Let's see if anyone would actually show up.
I would.
Oh, thank you.
You do it, I'll stop by for sure.
Okay. I feel like there were a lot of followers I had that if they saw that I was streaming, I have no idea what they would even think. Years later, back from the dead.
Where have you been?
I don't know.
So right here, I'm really just trying to establish lights and shadows, and it's kind of this whole thing here. I have a tendency to want to zoom in. It's still something I'm fighting, but just staying zoomed out and really trying to hit those values. And I can see, kind of comparatively, this is a dark image, granted, but the value range on here is just not hitting that. So what I do from here is a quick adjustment is multiply layer, and I'll name it multiply, just so I know it's my shadow layer, my adjustment layer. And at this point, this character is all on one layer, minus the sketch, of course.
That's amazing.
So I like to paint it all together just so I can kind of see those colors, all I don't know, it's just like a little color palette. So what I'll do with the multiply, since I've pretty much established a mask layer, we talked about mask layers before where I outlined all the lines. Well, this is now my mask layer. It's my flat color and my mask layer together. And my mask layer has the benefit in my eyes of being nice and painterly, which I really enjoy.
Right.
So I can just clip anything to the shape now because I've established a shape. And so what I'll do is I'll make a new layer, which I think I did, name it multiply. Go ahead and clip that to the shape below it, the one that we've been painting on. And I usually like to get like a soft brush. I have my airbrush. And I'll do that kind of purple color I talked about earlier. So a little bit above blue to get some warmth in it, some life if it hits the skin.
Yeah, right.
And desaturate it a lot so it's not overtly, outrageously purple.
Ooh.
And essentially, you know, I can kind of do this.
Ooh.
So it's kind of this way to just darken down any areas, you know, I think are too light.
Yeah.
I like this back arm. I don't think I want to go too deep in the shadow. I mean, that kind of looks cool, actually. Do I? Maybe I do.
I do.
Sometimes I like to have stuff fade off a little bit, but it's not a bad look, actually, getting some shadows in there.
Because the arm is being pushed backwards, so it would be less of
Yeah.
a focal point.
Yeah, and its shadow actually really isn't that deep. You'll see there. I'm not near those deep darks, so that's
Yeah.
actually maybe a pretty good range for that shadow.
Cool.
And sometimes, I forget which color I picked, so I can always, that's my multiply layer turned onto a normal layer. So if you ever like want to color pick, you know, the specific shadow you've been using, I kind of do that. But
Yeah. And you are using pen light for your actual brush mode. I think it might have snuck up.
oh,
Very
is
good.
that maybe that's
Maybe that's why it's such a light I don't know.
is that normal for when I switch to like a multiply? But that's the brush, so I don't think it would have done anything. Let's try
I think
it.
that the hotkey for making a new layer is similar to the hotkey for pen light, so it might be accidentally being touched.
Very possible. Okay.
Could be.
Let's see. Let's go ahead and delete that and try it again,
Okay.
just so. Yeah, I must be hitting something
One of those kittens is getting on your keyboard, just tippy tapping around.
remotely. Yeah.
Oh.
All right, so kind of do that again. You know, just anywhere I feel like we could have a little bit more shadow, and it's just supposed to kind of adjust everything pretty quickly.
Right.
Um,
It's not making huge differences in each different swash. You're kind of building things up if you need to.
yeah, and then the hair, you know, maybe we could do it there. Because
Ooh.
that shadow for the hair could be perhaps a little bit deeper.
I love that. That blonde hair, so cool.
Yeah, I
Alex,
guess we were thinking about doing the red, but I forgot.
I mean, you do you. This is your troll. Orc.
Let's do a color layer. You know, there's a lot of blend modes that I use just to try things out. Again, we can clip it to the mask that we had established, and let's just try doing something more red.
Ooh.
Oh, it's cotton candy hair.
Yeah.
I think if it was red hair, we'd need to go a lot deeper in the
Yeah.
shadows for it to look right.
Right.
And sometimes you can use other blending modes, like overlay can be good for that.
Deepen things up a little bit.
Yeah, it acts a little strange with the highlights, but you know, you can try out different layers, see what works well. Frankly, a multiply layer might work well in this instance.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Just playing around.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's good to, you know, try out ideas really quickly like that.
Very cool. Pazu says that he did not know about your work and it's incredible, so they now follow you on Instagram.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Pazu, if you want to get feedback for your illustrations, you can always post them in the Get Feedback channel on the Discord. So bit.ly/P S Discord will get you there.
Now, something I sometimes do, which is a really helpful tip, I could just merge my clipping mask all together, but what I also sometimes do is just turn off my background layers so only my character layers are established. And then, let's see, I think it will be the same on Mac, but it's basically Control, I guess it would be Alt on PC, Control Command on Mac, but Control Alt Shift E. It's a hefty one. Okay, I don't think it worked.
What are you trying to do?
It basically merges all the visible layers into one.
Oh.
I use that all the time on my computer, but I don't know if the hotkeys are, you know, different here, so I'll do it the other way.
Okay. It might be Command instead of Control. Might be the only difference.
Oh, okay. Or maybe, yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I'm a Mac noob, so I'll just take these ones and do merge layers. Since they're clipped together, they shouldn't interact weirdly with each other. Sometimes when you merge like a normal layer with a layer of a different blending mode, they interact weird, but if they're clipped together, it shouldn't be an issue.
Right.
So now we got all that, and I like the red hair. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, let's go with it.
So we got a little bit of time left, it looks like.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do in the remaining time we have. I'll switch back to my other brush and see if we can get some more life in the face.
Boom.
Focal
Very cool.
point.
Yeah. So I noticed that you have your flow set a little bit lower. Is that how you just usually like things, or?
I'm trying to think if that saved the settings from the brush or if that's default. I think the flow is usually at 80.
Yeah.
I don't actually think about flow too much. I do want my opacity at 100. I just like the brushes to have more of an aggressive, like definitive impact. I don't like them building them up too slow.
Yeah.
But flow, flow I could probably put at 100 too. I don't think I'd notice a huge difference.
Right. It might just show a little bit more texture if you keep it lower.
Yeah.
You can build upon.
Yeah, I think these brushes kind of have it built in or saved into their settings, and they're all kind of at like something I like.
Works.
Yeah. But flow is something that, kind of confused me for a while. Like what exactly it does.
Right.
It's kind of like supposed to be how much paint is on the brush, but I wasn't quite sure how that interacts with opacity.
Yeah, sometimes it seems like it does and sometimes it doesn't. Depends on what the brush is. It's interesting.
Like most things with Photoshop, I usually just experiment around until I find that feeling I like, and I'm like, okay.
Right. And then you need Chad to come in and be like, this is actually what it does.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Chad.
I think he was actually supposed to have horns.
Oh, yeah.
There are these little nubbins on his head that I didn't paint in. It's almost Hellboy-esque, like horn pieces.
Yeah, we did give him tusks.
Yeah.
I made that decision. Oh, cool, I like those.
Kind of like almost this.
Boom. So you're using a lot of the eyedropper just to kind of pick up other colors.
Yeah, I'm constantly using the eyedropper when I paint to sample colors from the rest of the painting, for sure. And one thing I do like to do, in addition to those multiply layers, I almost forgot, is the color dodge layer.
Oh yeah.
I love color dodge. Use it all the time. But I'll do the same thing I do with the multiply layer, which is select airbrush, just a soft round, and color dodge gets really intense really quick. So usually what I do is I pick a somewhat desaturated dark yellow, just because yellow is like a warm light. And you can see it it just boosts it up.
Yeah.
Let's undo that and we'll clip it first.
Clip
that to our shape below. And I try to keep it out of the shadows. So sometimes I might, just hit the areas I want it to appear on the most, and you can kind of experiment around with where it's hitting. If that's too dark, you can always go a little bit more and just see how it looks.
Yeah, so it keeps your image vibrant, but it does add some more intensity there.
Yeah, I do like that about color dodge. It does affect your colors, but it usually does it in an appealing way to me.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of think about, where's the light hitting and what needs to be boosted, but I'll just merge these together. It's kind of a simple little adjustment.
Yeah.
But I think the next thing would be to maybe add some more shadows to it. So I do like to duplicate my layers in case I mess it up. So Control J or Command J is that hotkey.
Oh, cool.
But now I have two of these.
Right.
So I can have the other one as a backup in case I need it, or if I like to show my process for stuff like this, I can kind of show that.
Smart. So you're not being totally reckless.
Yeah.
With your layers. You're keeping a backup if you need it.
For sure. I do that a lot. I duplicate things and keep a backup just in case for process purposes and just if I want to revert to a previous state.
Definitely. What's up, Bojana? Or Bojana? feel like I use Bojana one day, Bojana the next. So let me know in the chat, how do you actually pronounce it? I'd love to know. And Tim is schooling us on the difference between opacity and
Ooh.
flow.
Dropping knowledge bombs.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim.
What is it? Or is
What
it
is
a
it,
fairly
though?
lengthy explanation?
I'm having a hard time synthesizing the information by just reading it
I think
right
that's my issue to begin with. Is it's probably been explained to me, and I'm
Yeah.
always like, do I get it?
Yeah, right. I think opacity has to do with being the amount that you're able to build something up. With flow, it seems like you can build up to almost 100%. With opacity, if it's set at 20%, you're only ever going to get up to 20%.
Oh,
Maybe simplified.
I thought it was like 20% with each stroke
Oh,
of the brush. So, you know, it would take like 5 strokes or so to hit that. But I'm definitely not always super technically inclined with this kind of info. I just feel it out more.
just a little practice. It's amazing how much this creature has come to life. From that, you started from a sketch today.
Yeah, and I feel like this one's coming along slower than usual, but you know, this is kind of the idea. It's just like roughing in all the colors and doing big strokes and big ideas and trying to get something that comes along pretty quickly in a loose way and then focus the attention where you want it.
Right, you're definitely doing that. That just bust portion of the creature is really coming to life. He doesn't look like a very nice orc.
Yeah, looks like he could be kind of a grump. You know?
Yeah, quite the grump, I would say. I think we need a backstory.
I mean, maybe it's something, you know, the reason he needs to carry around these cleavers to begin with probably explains his grumpiness.
That's true. He's like, I don't want to do this.
Maybe there's giant dinosaurs where he lives and they're always trying to eat him.
But he also needs to put him on his feet so he can skate away
Yeah.
on the
maybe
ice ponds.
Some little ice oases.
Yeah.
Oases.
Oases. Yeah, instead of having just pools of water in the desert, they're like ice pools.
Yeah.
Oh, Bojana. Okay. Cool. Thank you for the help with pronunciation. What's up, Laura? Do I have my invisibility turned on today? Not that I can tell, unless we're both invisible. Oh, you asked a question up top. Sorry, I missed that. Can we get feedback on stuff not related to the challenges? I believe so, although right now we're really focusing on the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. So we're hoping people will post those right now so that we can give feedback in about 2 minutes. I'm gonna open up Discord and see what we got. Oh yeah, we got quite a few submissions. Yes. So there is some work, I'm just gonna say it up front, in the Discord that doesn't have to do with the Daily Creative Challenge today. So we'll probably quickly skim over those and spend a little bit more time on the actual challenge for today. They're looking very cool.
Try to get a little bit of detail into the face before we go into that.
Nice. Oh, Laura, sorry I missed your other ones. Feel free to repost them. Yeah, thank you, Adobe Live, for the link to the Discord. Oh, you posted them in Discord. Gotcha. I see, I see. But yeah, thank you for the link, Adobe Live, for the Discord channel. Go check that out. You can get Discord on web, you can get it on mobile, you can download an app for it. Oh, it's Bojana. Okay. The softest J. Gotcha. But yeah, get Discord going. It's great. You can send private messages, have feedback sessions with people. Sometimes we do voice feedback, which is pretty fun. We'll actually get on the voice channel and work through the design feedback channel, talk through it. It's awesome. May says that this looks cool.
Well, thank you.
Agreed.
It's coming along slowly but surely. I'll probably, you know, finish this up off at home and post them up online when I do, but it's kind of got the idea roughed in. Should we give him red eyebrows too?
Ooh, Let's see how it looks. It'll probably make him look real grumpy.
I'll do it like really dark and desaturated so it's like subtly red.
Ah, I see. Like you shaved them off and they're regrowing. It's a look. Nice.
Very rough, but you know.
Yeah, this is cool. It's about time for design feedback, and then after feedback, we'll be able to jump into this for just a couple more minutes.
Excellent.
Yeah, but cool, good work so far. All right, we're jumping over to design feedback over in the Discord, and we're gonna be giving feedback for today's Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge that Val led earlier this morning. The challenge is to create a sci-fi poster using text and the illustration from yesterday. So I'm scrolling all the way up to the top. Here is where Voodoo's submissions start. So she used the illustration from yesterday and then added some cool text with some cool textures. Very nice. Any feedback?
I definitely like the font and the background choice. I really like the texture in the background too. I think it's a cool contrast color-wise, value-wise.
Yeah.
So it gives that character a nice silhouette. I don't know, I really like this one. I think I like everything about it. The color in the face is a nice pop to it.
Yeah, the good pinks and reds with the nose and eyes.
Yeah, the values work really well just graphically with the background.
Yeah.
The font and the color for it really pop off too.
Popping off.
Yeah, I like it.
Nice job, Val. 10 out of 10 would join the dark side again. Nice. All right, so here is Valentina's challenge number 2. So we won't talk about this too much because we're working on, I think, challenge 3 today. But nice job adding some color in the background. It looks like it got a little bit skewed, but maybe that's on our side. Who
Yeah, I like
knows?
that kind of starry background.
Yeah, it's awesome. C is still working from yesterday, getting more content with where it's heading. Takes time, but you're learning. Nice job, C. Nice job, Watchdog, working on some coloring from yesterday. And then Val has some feedback. VD was posting a challenge from yesterday. This is awesome. Take a quick
very
peek
cool.
at it.
Love those
Billy.
clean lines.
Yeah, right? It like doesn't even look like it's a Photoshop painting.
Yeah, it's very kind of vectory almost, which it gives it a cool kind of illustrated feel.
Yeah, definitely. All right, here we go. Here's our first challenge for today. I had to do it quick because here in Belgium, it's very early, or it's time to make supper. Got a hungry family. Whoa, cool.
Oh, nice.
Space girl.
Yeah, I like those background choices. Definitely sets the scene.
Yeah, it's like above and below. Space girl exists in between. What do you think about the texture in this cloak?
I think it's pretty cool. It's almost kind of abrupt where it ends with the face. I don't know if you kind of like faded it off near the bottom or kind of drew the attention to it in the top.
Yeah,
Almost maybe kind of fading the values up a little bit more gradually from dark to light would be
see.
maybe a nice little gradient effect.
yeah. But it has a good kind of flow to this whole composition with the header, the kind of tagline, some cool imagery going around.
Yeah, I like how the kind of top of the planet, directs your eye into the character.
Definitely. Although your eye does kind of go straight to the sun coming up over the edge of the earth. So it kind of competes. You're like, am I supposed to look here? Am I supposed to look here?
Yeah.
And then there's also another piece of your eye focuses down at the bottom too.
Yeah, I almost feel like that power of world creation should maybe be a little bit brighter. Because there is some, usually the titles are supposed to draw a good amount of contrast, but there is some competing with the light sources at the top and the bottom.
Right.
So maybe popping that text out, making it a little bit brighter, would kind of make it work as a title or slogan a little bit better.
Yeah. Nice. This was by Lawrence. Lawrence, I hope you're having a nice dinner time with your family. We'll give you the seal of approval. Boom. All right, this is by T-Pet. Adding a little bit of cool, like Twilight Zone. Bedtime druid.
Is that lamb chop?
It's not lamb chop, but it is a lamb.
Yeah.
Very happy lamb.
I like the kind of overlap with the drawing.
Yeah, definitely. It's a true composite. He sought the secrets of the universe and got a good cuddle. period.
Nice.
Cool. I feel like this almost looks like a young adult novel.
Mm-hmm.
I could see this on the shelf in a library at a school.
Yeah, something about the title, the text is really kind of seems like it fits. I think it fits that vibe you're talking about.
Yeah.
Young adult novels sort. I do like the colors. I think the little bit of kind of hair, the orange in the hair, and the little more pink stripe.
Yeah.
I think it works well with I like the whole purple cloak and the kind of almost muted color palette you got going on it.
Right.
I think it has a cool feel.
Right, and the shadow's pretty stark, like the line is, but it's such a nice light wash of color that it doesn't feel too hard on the side of the face. I also really like this kind of peachy color used in the eyes and the nose and the lips. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's all kind of like a cool color palette, which I think works well with the background and the kind of nighttime aesthetic.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cohesive. Definitely give you that seal of approval. Boom. And if we don't get to your work because you're not done or you haven't posted it yet, please keep posting them because people will be in here giving feedback all the live long day. Reptilia, it's a cold-blooded world out there.
Ooh.
Oh, and we've got the little character hiding in the eye.
Yeah.
Spooky.
The color definitely makes it pop. I think the text could be done in a way that makes it read a little bit better. It's almost like, at first glance, it's almost kind of hard to read.
It is hard to read up here, especially.
And I don't know if I would say go lighter or darker, but some sort of value. The color contrast is pretty good because you have this kind of cool blue versus that warmer brown.
Yeah.
But the value, I think, needs to pop out more.
Right. The fact that it's a little bit transparent and there's a white kind of outer glow around the letters makes it pretty difficult to read. I think you could go stark with especially the outline of these letters. The softness of the glow feels a little bit out of place with how graphic and stark the rest of the work is.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you just find a good value and color that really pops on its own, that would work pretty well. But that's one of those things I'd have to kind of experiment with to see what is that right value that they need.
Definitely. I wonder what this is about. Like someone who's trapped in a lizard body?
Or some sort of wizard, druid person who's having to fight this creature.
Oh yeah, looking at it in the eyes.
Looking right at them as they're confronting it.
Oh my gosh. It's
cool.
interesting how this creature has eyebrows, but it's like a reptile. It makes me wonder what the rest of the face looks like. Probably pretty scary.
And I'm wondering if something other than blue may fit the mood and the theme of it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because it seems like this kind of sci-fi, kind of intense movie. But the text, I don't really get that vibe from the color.
Right. And maybe the typeface too. It could be a little more jagged, sharp.
I definitely think there's probably something out there that would fit a little bit more. Though fonts and typefaces are definitely my weak point.
Yeah, good thing there's Adobe fonts because you have access to thousands.
Yeah, it's I know it when I see it, but I don't know what it needs.
Right. Very cool. All right, Gerard, we're working with the witches.
Ooh.
Always
like a good witch.
Ooh, look at her tiny hands.
Yeah, it's really creepy.
Eek.
The face and the hands.
Yeah. Cool.
It's neat. Can you zoom in on the witch part a little bit towards the bottom? There's some interesting stuff going on down there. Is that a blend mode?
Yeah. Looks like she's a little bit transparent.
Yeah, I was gonna say if she was not transparent, if there's kind of not that intense value shift on the bottom, I think that would be good. Because it almost kind of confuses me if the clouds are showing through.
Right.
And then all that kind of contrast between the bright and the super dark is competing a bit with the face.
Yeah, especially this bright thing on the left and then the face. I think the face should not definitely, but in my opinion, be the thing that your eye goes to first.
Yeah, so I think if you cut out a lot of that texture happening on the bottom, the witch will contrast against the background a bit. And if you could somehow, there's some blending modes you could use or some doubling up of the background you could use, but if you can get the space behind her on the right, where her shoulder kind of blends in.
Yeah.
If you could get a brighter red tone like the rest of the image has, just a little bit, that would pop her silhouette out and I think really make her shape be more dominant.
Yeah, definitely. I like the texture. in this typeface or this lettering that you have. Feels kind of crunchy and Halloween-esque.
Yeah, definitely thinking kind of a Halloween vibe, which I like because it fits that witch's face.
Totally. I'm ready for Halloween.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
it's only June, but
Always.
I'm ready. All right, let's look through a couple more. We'll spend about 5 more minutes on this. This is by Ant. Cool.
Nice.
There's so much action that comes into this just by having the text angled up to the right and the telephone box angled to the left.
For sure. Those diagonal lines really add some interest. Diagonal lines are always kind of, an element you can add to make something a little bit more exciting, a little bit more like in motion. And I like that kind of counterbalance they got.
Right.
I also like how the kind of explosion, it's coming out from behind the font, but it's also kind of coming from the top of the phone booth, which I think is kind of a nice focal point.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like these values, at least the whole phone booth and the time check, they're all like kind of the same red. Might be interesting if they're a little different. I know there's this line of white that differentiates them, but
yeah,
it'd be cool if this is a pop color, an accent color.
For sure. Separating those things out could be nice.
And these do feel like, it feels like it's in motion, like it's kind of zooming in some direction, but I wonder if one side of this typeface could be focused and then the rest could be blurred.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I just feel like having the title be all blurred kind of takes away a little bit from it being the title and kind of the focus. I'm scared.
Yeah.
What is
I like
this?
that kind of classic Halloween horror font. It makes me think of like a 70s, 80s B movie, horror movie.
In the best way.
Yeah, I love that stuff. It's got like a lot of charm to it,
Right.
which I really enjoy.
Yeah, and I think just compositionally, this is really simple and strong. It has like the background, the mid layer that kind of leads your eye into the center, and then the hero, the main character, which is a telephone booth. Nice job. Give you that seal of approval.
Almost makes me think of Goosebumps too.
Yep.
Like it could be like the horror phone booth or haunted phone booth.
Yes. Have you seen those Goosebumps covers that are made by artificial intelligence? Like machine learning?
No, I don't think I have.
It took like all the information from all the titles and all the imagery and it like makes new ones.
Oh man.
And they're very disturbing.
That's so cool. I'd have to check that out.
There's a Twitter account. Alrighty, let's jump onto Ram's Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. So this is the one from today. Create a classic poster using illustration from Challenge 2. All right. Indian Railway. Cool, so it's not a movie poster, but just kind of maybe like a tourism poster.
It's an interesting mix between kind of the photo and then the graphic elements.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of an interesting blend. It's not like seamless, but there's like this kind of gradual shift.
Yep. Yeah. It's very graphic. I like how you've cut out things and made almost this starburst shape. Kind of fit everything into it. The imagery, the type, the graphic. I'm not really quite sure what to look at first.
Yeah. It is almost kind of visually confusing in a way, which is kind of interesting in its own right, but I don't know if that's, with this subject matter, if that's kind of the goal.
That's true. I feel like you could almost just get rid of this little almost graphic of a train and let the text just live with the imagery of the real train.
Yeah.
Maybe lighten up the white of this a little bit so it becomes the first thing that you look at.
Yeah, I think that, I was almost thinking like, I wonder what would happen if you took out the yellow triangle as well.
Yeah.
Like what the image looks like beyond that, because something about the way that it lines up on the left edge is almost confusing to my eye. It almost looks kind of wobbly.
Oh, yeah.
I
think it might be like a little bit cut out.
Oh, it is. Okay. I wasn't sure if it was the elements next to it doing like a sort of illusion.
Right. This is cool. It almost feels like a vintage postcard.
Yeah. I really like that shift between the train on the right and the graphics right above it. It's like it almost looks like it's part of it, but then you realize it's a graphic. It's kind of a cool effect.
Yeah, this is strong. Nicely done. That was by Ram. Let's look at one more. Ooh, this is by Drathesis just threw this together. Sci-fi? Screw that. Real fi all the way. Cool. I like this. Totally illustrated.
Yeah, that's a cool style. I think the text kind of fits the little character illustration too, like the style of it all. It's kind of playful.
Yeah, this composition is pretty simple. Like there's just a textured background, some hand lettering, and a small illustration, and that's all you need to tell a good story. What do you think about the color palette?
I like it. I think it fits pretty well. The shoes definitely draw a lot of attention.
Yeah, it's like boom.
I would maybe tone down the saturation of it because the rest of the character kind of has that more almost muted colors. Like that blue could be a lot more intense than it is, but I think it's great how it is.
Yeah.
Same with the yellow. It's not too dominating, but those shoes, it almost look like they're supposed to be the focal point.
Right. I feel like maybe if you just made the shoes the same color as like the pink in the hair, it would also just make things a little more cohesive as well. For some reason, the red feels out of place with the rest of the color palette.
Yeah, because they kind of have that pink hair and then that nice light pink in the background. I think using the one from the hair would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Tie them together.
But I love this texture in whatever brush this is. This almost looks like the birch brush from Kyle Webster's Mega Pack. Like you're drawing with the tree branch.
Interesting.
Very cool. Nicely done. I love that hand lettering.
Yeah.
A lot of personality.
It's a really cool color palette.
Yeah, and if we did not get to your work, I know there's a lot of other posts, or maybe just Ken's. People will be giving more feedback for the rest of the day. So no worries about that. Nicely done. Actually, let's just look at Ken's real quick, because it's the last one. And it looks like a very cool sci-fi poster. This is so cohesive. The color palette's great.
Yeah. It's got a little bit of that like 70s vibe, I think, with the typeface.
Yeah, and even especially having just like an exclamation point in the title. It's like, oh, I can imagine like a radio announcer reading it.
I think the color palette works well for that too. It's all kind of that, nothing's too intensely vibrant. It almost has this like yellow tint to everything, which kind of gives it that feel, which I really like.
Yeah, a little antique. It almost feels like an old circus poster too.
Yeah.
Especially with this rounded edge. This kind of swoopy warp text.
Yeah, it looks like something you could find in a vintage store or something.
Cool postcard. Nice job, Ken. All right, so we have about a little less than 10 minutes to jump back into your work, maybe finish things up, and then for the last 5 minutes, we'll kind of go over everything you've done in the last 2 days. It's strange just having you here for 2 days instead of 3.
Yeah,
by
definitely.
So fast.
Yeah, it does really. The past 2 days have just kind of flown by. Well, we're at this point where, you know, I wanted to get them a bit further than here, but you can kind of see, like, the idea is down, you know. The ideas are roughed in, but there's still a lot of stuff I could do to this. I try to remind myself to stay zoomed out.
Yeah.
And from here, it's really just looking at, you know, my drawing and reminding myself, like, is there anything I'm missing in this drawing? You know, like little decorations or little shapes. You know, he has these knee pads, but are they supposed to be metal, or should they just be perhaps darker around it? So he kind of has this more
I see.
coppery. But I don't want to put too much contrast into the bottom.
Right.
That's something that I try to be wary about.
Interesting. Chat, what do you think? Should it be metal? Leather? Maybe it's the skin of his enemies.
Ooh.
Tight over his knees.
He doesn't sound like a nice guy.
No. We never really decided why he has to carry those meat cleavers around.
Yeah. Could be just chopping down trees that has like fruit in it, you know?
He's totally a vegetarian.
Yeah, he could just be like hacking at trees and he knocks them down, he gathers them up.
Totally.
No
That's how he
one
got
really
so
knows.
big and strong.
It's very, very ambiguous. He lives a mysterious life.
Don't assume. You don't know him. Our troll.
Maybe we'll figure out his story down the line.
Yeah, he could be one of those D&D characters that you're talking about on Twitter.
For sure. Could be a little extra you run into, you know, someone runs into him in a story.
Oh yeah, NPC.
Exactly. That's kind of the fun thing, like, you know, any of those projects, you can kind of create this little world, and if you like a character, you can always fit them in somewhere.
Totally. Your OC. Ariana says leather for the knees would be cool. Agreed. I'm really amazed that even when you're on this kind of detailing stage, you still stay zoomed out.
Yeah, that's a lesson I've had to learn about 500 times. It's always the answer to everything. Like if I had one digital painting tip that I could give, I think it would be stay zoomed out. Because any problems you're going to solve are always from here.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, the face may not be, fixed and...
But you're only zooming in like once.
Yeah,
you're
but
not like zzz.
Even then the face is still this big on my screen.
Yeah.
So it is like zoomed out for that.
Oh my gosh. That is something that I think I would have a very hard time with. I love just zooming in.
Oh, yeah.
Noodling around.
Have to remind myself constantly. Even now, I'm like, Sam, you're zoomed in. Do you need to be? Like, is that helping? Or
right.
Are you just reverting back to old habits?
That's a good point. Chat, if you have any digital painting tips, what would be the one that you would share? I'm interested to hear. Samir is wondering, what hardware are you using? That's a Cintiq. A big one.
Yeah, it's a 22-inch Cintiq. I'm not actually sure which specific model this is. At home, I have a 21-inch, so it's a 21UX. It's a pretty old model Cintiq.
Yeah, but it still works.
Yeah, it works great.
There you go.
The only thing is the color representation on it isn't quite as good as my monitors.
Gotcha.
So I have like a triple monitor setup. I have my Cintiq and then a monitor on each side.
Really?
Yeah, one's kind of vertical, like that one, because my desk can't fit all of them.
Right, you need to build upwards.
Yeah, and then the one on my left, I duplicate this. Actually, a little quick tip. If you guys don't do this, you don't even need two monitors, but it's kind of like the Navigator, but you can paint in it too.
What?
So if you go to, let me see, range, is it around here? Oh, okay, here we go. So you go to Window, Arrange, and then you'll see New Window 4, and then it'll say your file name. So this guy is Troll Drawing. So I'll click that, and it's now popped up a duplicate.
Oh.
And usually what I'll do is I'll put this on my other monitor.
Okay.
So I'll just, have a kind of a thumbnail. I'll have it bigger than this because I have a whole monitor for it. And I'll keep that on my other monitor. But for this, what I can do is just, if you want it like the Navigator tool, just kind of make it like this so you can see it zoomed out. So if you are zooming in, I don't know. What happened there?
Hello? Maybe it's hiding behind.
Could be.
Where did you go?
Let's see. I don't know how it works on this. Let's try it one more time.
Okay.
I don't know if it's different on Mac, but we're gonna have like
or if you go up to top and do consolidate all to tabs, it should pop back in.
Oh, okay, let's see. So usually when I have this up, even if I click on the document beneath it, it won't disappear, but it does seem to on this.
Silly Mac.
So I'm not sure if that's a Mac thing or if that's just like an option you can check, but
Yeah.
usually it stays up. And the cool thing about it is you can paint in the small window,
Okay.
and or you can paint in the big window and it'll affect the others.
Whoa, so
it's-
it'll change in real time.
yeah, so it's just kind of a duplicate window. So that can be nice. I don't use that personally, but I like to have another version of it on my other monitor because one, my other monitor has slightly different colors and values, so I can make sure it looks good on both. And then the other is just because for some reason, something about looking to the side and like seeing it differently and zoomed out, it helps me like almost step back from it better.
Yeah, definitely.
I
You're
can't-
not just...
Yeah, because I can do this. That's kind of the equivalent, but it's nice to just be able to glance to the left and then keep painting.
Yeah. You're like kind of out of paint mode for a second.
Yeah.
Cool. So we have about 2 minutes left before we need to say goodbye. Maybe we could show where you started, what you've done, and then where you've ended today.
Yeah, for sure. So, usually after this, I would just kind of go in, I'd define the background more, add some more shadows, and then define the character. And the goal is usually for it to kind of be something like this. It's loose, but all the focal point is there. So I'll probably take this guy home, finish him up, post it online, fix the canvas, the cropping's kind of weird.
Right.
Just all those little adjustments. So where we started, let me minimize all of these. Actually, I think we have it up here.
Nice.
So these were the thumbnails I did in my sketchbook. Again, just focusing on silhouette, kind of the gesture, the push of the pose, the directional lines, the diagonal shapes or the flowy lines that we got going with like the tails and the arms and all that. And basically a little bit about the costume. Like the guy in the top right is more of a robe-wearing wizard. He's got these little, like you can't tell when you just look at that, but I know when I was drawing it, it's almost like kind of crystal balls, I was thinking. Some sort of like
that'd be so cool.
magical sphere with like a dragon claws hooked around it.
Sweet.
So you can't really see it, but that's what I have going through my head. So I like to kind of design the characters with that, with the basic idea, the basic shapes, costume, silhouette, and all this is established in these. After that, I may put it in Photoshop. Usually I just do it all in Photoshop, but I may start working like that more often, who knows?
Cool, and if we can click through these pretty quick and just show where you landed, how you got there.
Let's see here if I can pop it up. So that was it, and then we did the sketches.
Boom, boom,
So
boom.
that's kind of what the sketch looked like. And then blown up after we detailed it, it looked like that. And then we threw in a basic value for the background and scribbled in a color palette.
Yep.
Once I like that kind of atmosphere, I start painting in the actual color and then just refining that. So the first painting
Looks so good.
is just kind of a color palette. The second one is where we start refining it more, which we didn't really get too far past that. But that's kind of where it's left off, and from here it's just refining.
That's awesome.
I'll go home and take it and clean it up and call it done.
Yeah, and chat, if you want to see the finished work, you can follow Sam on social, Sam Peterson Art, pretty much anywhere, and on Twitch. That's where you stream 5 days a week.
Yep,
Pretty
Instagram,
amazing.
Twitch, Twitter, Sam Peterson Art.
Yeah, and keep an eye out for him in the chat as well, because he's always hanging out as a mentor too in Discord and on Adobe Live. We've got Melody coming up next for the XD Daily Creative Challenge, followed by John doing some more XD goodness. So if you want to stick around for some user experience design, please do so. Sam, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for stopping by, everybody.
Yeah, we will be back in just a couple minutes, so stay tuned. Bye.
See you guys.